Right, I'm going to show you how to do this tomato sauce that I freeze down. There's no, ingredients or measurements as such. I just kind of chuck it all in and go from there, really. So I've got a Kelsey onion here. I've chopped one up already. I won't use two of them. I'll just use what I need and I'll freeze the rest. This is probably about £2.5 onion, this. So just peel it back. There's a few where it started to go a bit funny here in the neck. Lop that off there. Take a bit of the base plate off. Don't need them. Just try and hack it sort of down the middle without hacking your fingers off. Well, it's not rotten inside, which is always good. And then just simply chop it up however you like. Doesn't have to be fine or anything, because after all it's all going to get blitzed down. So you can use any onions for this, whatever you've got knocking around, really. So the ingredients for this, tomatoes, carrots, celery, onion, garlic. So if you haven't got all them ingredients, it doesn't matter. You can add them when you come to actually make your sauce, when you're actually going to make your whatever you're going to do with it, bolognese, lasagna, or anything like that. So it's just basically cut it into chunks like that. So I'll do the rest of it and then we'll get on with the next bit. So a lot of onion there. So first thing we do is going to get that out of the way before my eyes give up. Right, I've got 4 bulbs of garlic here, because that's all I could be bothered peeling. This was the garlic Solent White, the one that had there's a few, don't know if you remember, I had some that had some little the escapes on it. But same with this, you can smack it if you want. Just roughly chop it, don't have to be out anything fancy. If you've got a blender, you can was it blender if you want. It's like if you wanted to freeze the onion, you don't have to blanch the onion. Just stick it in bags as it is. Garlic, I tend to, I'll blend it down and I'll put a tiny bit of butter with it, and then I'll freeze it in ice cube trays. So I've already got a load that's frozen down. I might as well use up the fresh stuff. So you might need a fairly large pan to do this. Get a bit of a rough chop about. You can always add more garlic if you want. I usually do whenever I make the actual dishes up. I'll usually put a little bit more garlic in it, sometimes more onion as well. Just like to make a basic sauce. It saves you storing a load of stuff, trying to keep it fresh. You know, you got a lot of tomatoes. They only last so long. You can dry them and everything like that, I guess, you know. But I don't know, it's just I just freeze these in bags. Just pop that back on this plate. That's the garlic. Carrot I've already done. There's a few bits like bits of root flying and stuff like that. It's just a mixture of my sweet candle and a few sugar snacks. There's a good pound, well, probably just under £2 of carrot there. So you can add more. You know, it sweetens it all up a bit, or you can just put sugar in. Just depends. So I was chucking it down outside, so I only grabbed a few carrots till I was getting wet. Oh, got some celery. This is the I think it's a Tango. It's down the bottom of the garden. It's probably going to be quite stringy and that, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be used to cook. I'm going to get rid of some of the foliage off the top, but like I said, I'm not too fussed. Keep some of the leaves. Sharp knife would be good, but work with what you got. Should cut that bottom bit off there. Give it a quick rinse out. Jack Doors making a racket outside. Right, and then it's basically, you don't have to do anything fancy with this either, just chop it up, rough chop it, however you like. You might put some more celery in, because I've got quite a bit. It's quite a rustic batch of ingredients, but it's all going to get blitzed up, cooked, left to sort of infuse, or as I call it, fester for a little bit, and then, well, usually a day or two I leave it to fester in the pan, and then reheat it up the final time, sort of re-sterilise it I guess, and then put it all through a sieve. So yeah, I'll probably put some more celery in, but I won't bother videoing that bit. Might just even chop up a lot of these leaves. Alright, I'm going to start cooking some of the bits I've already prepared, just to start them off really. I've got a great big pan here. I used to use it for actually boiling like a seed mix up for fishing. So it probably holds about 10-12 litres, maybe more, maybe even 15, but it's a big pan. And because I've done that many tomato sauce mix in it, the actual rivets have started to corrode off, so I have to be very careful when it's full of liquid and I lift it. I don't want to pour it down myself because it'll really hurt. So I'm just going to, what's the old stove on? It is quite a thin metal, so you do end up with stuff stuck to the bottom. Just put some glug of the old olive oil in. And then just simply add this some, chopped carrot, all that in. All the celery. I got like another small one. I put that in. So plenty of celery. Garlic can go in as well. And That's one of the Kelsey onions. Okay, so shoving some of the other one in, and then that, just put in a little bag in, freeze it. The idea is now just turn gas down a little bit. Just sort of sweat it, try and get some of the liquid out of it. Sometimes I put some salt in now, just to start everything sort of getting rid of the liquid. Don't be frightened of putting quite a bit of salt in, because there is a lot in this, when you've made it. So like a teaspoonful of salt is nothing in this. It's just a case of give it time, keep stirring it about until it's kind of all reduced down and gone all nice and soft and that. And while that's doing that, you can cut your tomatoes in half. Like I say, I've got a great big punnet of tomatoes here, all different ones: Moneymaker, Alicante, and some of the San Marzano plum. They're the main three that are in it. I've no cherries in there. I've got some cherries to put in if need be, but I tend to eat the cherries. They're the San Marzano. Like I say, you can quarter them, chop them finely if you want, but I just tend to cut them in half. You can just put them in the freezer like this. I like to try and leave them as long as I can until they start to go a bit soft. There's a few of these that aren't quite fully ripe, but once they've gone to that point where they're going like really dark red and really soft, that's the best time to use them, because that's when I find they're the sweetest. So we'll have a look back at this before I add the tomatoes in. It's been sort of sweating down, for a good half hour now. Just in case I keep stirring it and kind of mashing it up a little bit, I guess. It's just made to get rid of a lot of the water. Obviously there's going to be a lot of liquid added once the tomatoes go in. So I'll just give it a little bit longer for these carrots to soften a little bit more. Like I say, it's going to get blitzed up with a little blender thing anyway. You don't have to. You don't have to blend it at all, I've no basil, so I might just put some parsley in it later on, I don't know. Because it's one herb I have got. It's something you can put in a load of things anyway. Parsley, but I could blitz this up now, but it's pointless. I'll just wait until the tomatoes are done. I think that'll do for that, I think. So I've chopped my tomatoes up, some in quarters, some in halves. I'm just going to generally start adding them. I'm going to pour them all in just yet, because I don't want a lot of hot stuff splashing up at me. I'll put some in, I'll stir them in, and then I'll have the rest then. But hopefully I'll fit them all in. You see, it'll reduce down a bit. You can always add some more later on. So there's no exact measurements for this. It's all down to taste at the end of the day, just to make a base sauce for things. I don't bother skinning them out like that. Like I say, that all comes off when it's run through a sieve. It does take a while to reduce down, hence the reason why I tend to leave it standing for a day or so. I sort of bring it up to temperature when I'm out here, so I'm making a brew, and let it bubble or simmer away, and then with the lid off, it just helps to steam off some liquid, and then I cover it with a towel, you know, when it's turned off, because it holds heat for a long time. Now, I could just pour these out, but there is quite a bit of water in the bottom of this, you know, so I don't think it's going to be a real loss to the flavour. I don't want to be tipping a load of liquid in there to boil out. And it's just a time thing, really. But, there was 13.5 pounds of tomatoes gone in there. So I mean, it's just a bit of liquid and some seed in there. It's just a case of trying not to let anything stick to the bottom, really, which is quite tricky because there's a lot of weight in here. You know, you can bend your spoon, or I've used wooden spoons before now, and I've snapped the spoon, so I use a metal one. You know, because it's like when you're sweating your veg off. I don't tend to do it for colour. You know, it's inevitable sometimes. It just sticks to the pan. It doesn't matter. It's all homegrown and homemade, and I usually tend to do about 4 batches. Get anywhere from, like, you know, around 20 to 30 litres or 30 packets. So I tend to put them in bags of 700ml. I find that's a good sort of sauce amount to mix with something like a 400 gram of mince, because you can bulk it up with veg as well, you know, like your green beans and stuff like that. It's up to you what you want to put in it. There's no rule for a bolognese. Just shove in whatever you want. Now I've got just a general potato masher here. I'm just going to push that down, and all that'll do is help squeeze some liquid out, and that'll just makes it a bit easier on the blender. You know, but obviously if you're using a lot of watery tomatoes, there's going to be a lot of liquid, so it's always handy to have a few plum tomatoes, or even beefsteak, something with plenty of flesh on it, because that's what you want for thickening it. You know, I've got, it's probably only about 8 or 9 plum tomatoes in here, and if your tomatoes are a bit acidic, you know, when you come to taste it later on and that, you can always put a little bit of bicarbonate soda in there. That'll neutralise some of the acid, but just be warned, it will froth up quite a bit until it's all neutralised. I'll carry on doing this, and then we'll have a look at it in a bit. Right, I've had a few minutes, sort of gradually release a bit of liquid. So I'm going to try and blend it up a bit now before it gets too hot, because you don't want anything spraying out, because sometimes, yeah, it does spray out everywhere. Just using one of these little hand blenders, so it might get a bit noisy. It does clog up a bit, so I have to keep banging it out. I think that'll do for now. Might give it another blast later on. It's just a case of giving it a bit of a stir. Just leave it on a low heat and just keep stirring it every 10-15 minutes, you know, for probably about an hour, and then I tend to bring it to a right good boil then. So we'll come back to it in a bit. I said about 40 minutes to sort of bubble away. Throw in a little bit of parsley in. I got out of the garden, just chopped it up fine, just small stuff. Not put a lot in. You know, I'll probably grind a bit of pepper up to put in now. And if you've got any chilies, if you want to heat it up with a bit of, you know, chili flakes or whatever. I'm not going to put a load of pepper in. It's just Don't be frightened of putting a bit in, because obviously there's quite a lot here. You know, there's probably 8-9 litres here. You know, same with that salt. Always taste it, you know, before you're getting close to finishing it. Say all the seasoning's done. When you come to actually use it, you can season it up. It's just to make a basic sauce that you can use for quite a few different things, you know, and it saves all your tomatoes going over, and you can, you know, you've got all them tomatoes, all the goodness, everything is all packed in here. Same with a great big onion that wouldn't store very long, to be honest. You know, so if you've got any damaged onions and you're going to chop them and freeze them, you could freeze them. If you've got a glut of anything, just whack it in a pan, and you can freeze it all. So I'm just going to turn the heat up on this, just to get it really hot. Just keep sort of stirring it, because you don't want it to stick to the bottom, because all obviously like the skins will sink to the bottom and stick. It's just a case of keeping it stirred. And as you do it, you see, as it goes around the sides, it sort of sloshes up. That's the quick way, you know, to reduce it. You know, you can have it bubbling away, but when it starts spitting, it can burn you. If you keep it sort of moving, so it just splashes up against the side, that'll reduce it down quicker. You know, then you've got to go around and clean it off, obviously. But it's just a case of getting up to some heat, and then I'll cover it with a towel. I'll leave it open so it can carry on steaming off some liquid, and then I'll come back to it tomorrow. You know, because I might bag it up tomorrow or the day after. So it's something you don't have to rush. You know, it's not going to go mouldy or anything, because things taste better once you've had a chance to sort of, you know, sit for a while. And obviously this will take hours to cool down. This will still be hot in 8 hours. You know, it'll be warm. You know, so when you come to do the final bagging stage, you're better off sort of like leaving it a good 10-15 hours really, at least, to get it really cool. And we'll see that part when I get to it anyway. But for now, I'm just going to get this up to temperature, and then cover it over the towel and leave it till tomorrow. Right, come back to this tomato sauce. It's been a couple of days since I started it, so it's kind of just been left in the pan with a towel over it. I brought it to, you know, to sort of up to temperature, you know, pretty hot, not bubbling, but I brought it to, it's just started to fizzle a bit at the top and take it off. So this is its 4th time I'm warming it up now. I'm just warming it up again because I find it goes through a sieve easier when it's warm. So I'm just going to bring it up, not that it's red hot, it's just to warm it up. You know, instead of spending ages sat at the stove, you know, trying to reduce it down and that, each time you bring it to heat and put it to one side of the towel over it, it will steam off a bit, so it kind of reduces itself a little bit. You know, so when you come out and you're cooking tea or something, just pop it on one of the burners and just put it on low to get it, you know, so there's a little bit of steam coming off it. I'm not going to take it that far because I don't want it splashing me and stuff like that when I'm trying to put it through the sieve. So it's not really that time consuming, you know, to do. But you know, if the weather's bad outside, it's a job out of the way, you know. And this probably make, I couldn't tell you how many it make, but it probably quite a lot of dishes you make with this. And this is only the first batch I'm doing. You know, I'll have probably another, imagine, 2 to 3 batches to do from the tomatoes when they're done. There's no cherries that have gone in here. They're all Moneymaker, Alicante, and San Marzano. Me Gardener's Delight, my Sun Golds. We eat them. Unless if they go overripe and there's too much of a glut of them, then they will go in. But, you know, got a tray of them to go at. And I've got some more, I'm ready to go out and pick some more. Like I say, you know, in the beginning you could pick some and just wash them off to get the pollen off, because the pollen can give them a bit of a funny taste on the skin. And just stick them in a big bag and put them in the freezer until you've got a bag full, and you can just, you know, whack them in from frozen and do this. You know, if you because you can be doing loads of little pans, don't you? But I find it easier just to do like a big bulk and try and keep up with it if you can, otherwise you end up with about 25-30 pounds of tomatoes in the freezer, and you've got to spend a bit of time prepping it all. So I'll try and move the camera elsewhere, see if you get a better shot on this, but if not, it'll probably do up there, but we shall see. We'll get on with the actual, the bit rusted, the skin and all the seeds out. Right, so I'm going to just run this through a sieve now. So you give it a ladle, or a spoon of some sorts. If you haven't got a small sieve, that's fine. I found this on Amazon. I don't know what size it is, 10-inch, something like that. You do end up going through a few sieves because when you're pushing on it to get the pulp through, it can ruin them after a while. And obviously tomato's quite acidic as well, so it's fairly corrosive. We'll just get a few ladles full, and it's not a case of just, you can hear the thin stuff going through, but you're going to need to get the thicker stuff through, otherwise you end up with just a really watery sauce. So you want to get that pulp through, because you've got all that tomato, onion, celery and carrot, everything that's got in there, and it takes a little bit of time, but you don't have to do this if you don't mind it all with the seeds and the skin in. You're fine to go at that, but they just get stuck in between my teeth, to be honest, so I tend to just get them out. And then it's using the back of your ladle, I just gently, I'm not pressing down on anything yet, and as it'll start to slowly sink down, and the ladle's touching the bottom now. It's just a case of stir it around. It'll gradually get thicker and thicker because a lot of the liquid's going through, and now you're getting towards the pulp. And if you don't be worried about taking a bit of time over it, to make sure you get as much of the pulp through as you can. If there's anything you want to do with that stuff, you can do. I don't know what you'd do, but just a lot of skins, really. Skins and seeds. And just get yourself another bowl. And can you put that on the compost heap? You could do. It's vegetable based, so it'll still rot down. It's been cooked and I don't know what goodness there is in it, but I guess it's a fibre of some sorts. And just keep repeating that process. When you've finished, scrape the underneath of your sieve as well, and you'll be surprised, how much stuff you do throw. But like I say, it's all skin and pulp. Don't be too concerned about it, but like I say, you don't have to throw it away. I'll probably end up needing another pan because this one doesn't hold quite as much. Because if you want to reduce it down any more, you do it after this stage and reduce it down, which I might do. I might put it on, bring it up to heat again and leave it until tomorrow. But before you're going to bag it and freeze it, it needs, I'd give it a good 12 hours or really overnight, give it the next day and then bag it. Bear in mind, now you've heated it up, it's kind of sterilised it again, so don't worry about it going off or anything like that, it's fine. Just keep it covered, but you need to allow it to get rid of some of that steam off it. So put a towel over it, that way then the water's getting out. It'll just keep thickening. You put corn flour in it and all that lot, whatever you want, but tend to thicken it to whatever you need it, depending on what dish you're doing with it. You know, so it can take you, you know, a good half hour to do this. You know, depending on how much you've made. I'll do this one, and then we can have a look at the actual sauce when it's got all the pulps out of it, before I carry on and do the rest. It's just another thing you can do if you've got a big glut of stuff, you know. Instead of leaving them to go off or anything like that, just make it something you can use when the season's finished. And I've still got some of this left from last year, not many. So I'll roughly work out if I can make at least 20 bags. You know, that's 20 meals. Like I put them in, make it 700 milliliter bags, because that tends to mix nicely with you know, like a 400 or 500 gram mince pack. But you can put 2 in if you want to really reduce it right down. You know, so you've got like 1.5 litres nearly. I'll scoop that out. And what you end up with is, you know, a nice sauce that's no skin, no seed. You could have that as soup now if you wanted to. I'll carry on and do the rest of this, and then let it cool and whatnot, and then we'll bag it up. Right, it's the bagging stage of it. I've already bagged 6 bags and they've frozen. Cause I'll try and put them on things that are flat in the freezer while they're frozen, and they can sort of store easier. So I'm just going to do the last bit. I don't know, there might be another 3 or 4 bags in there maybe. So like I say, I do 700ml. I've got an old mark and an old jug here, so I just fill it to that. So it's cooled down because it was yesterday. You know, when I give it a final heat up and everything, and it took a long time to cool, so I thought, right, you know, I'll make sure it's really cool, and I'll do a few bags, freeze them, and then it'll make room. I can just drop them in the chest freezer now like that, so it just gives me a bit more space to freeze these ones, and then in the morning I shall put these into the chest freezer, and it won't be long and I'll be doing another batch. Like I said, 700ml bags I do. I usually use zip seal bags, but I've only got these press seal bags. The size is small, but they look fairly big to me. You know, you could get a litre in, but 500 to 700ml is ideal. Whatever measurement that is, probably, I don't know, 20 centimetres by 15 or something like that. So you just have to make sure it's sealed and it don't go everywhere. It's just a case of lobbing it in. And usually if you get a little bit of sauce left over at the end, you can just overfill the bag slightly, or sometimes I just warm it up and shove it in a bowl and stick it in the microwave, butter some bread and have it like a soup. Just basically squeeze it till nearly it's completely sealed, and then I tip it to try and keep the air pocket side at the highest point. Slowly press it till all the air's out, and then seal it up. And then you look, when you tip it upside down, it'll all come pouring out. That's all I do with that, and you know, like I said, when I freeze it, it's the same as that. You know, do whatever you like, it's just a good basic tomato sauce. It's all homegrown, you know, everything, all the, you know, the celery, the onion, the carrot and the tomatoes, and the garlic that's in it, and the parsley I put in it, the salt and pepper, you know, and then a little bit of olive oil. They're things I had to buy, but it's pretty much 99.9% all homegrown. So for those who want to know how I do my tomato sauce, that's all I do. I've done that for years now. Sometimes I just alter the ingredients just depending what I've got. So it's never exactly the same all the time, but it's pretty much that basis. You know, a good lump of onion, good lump of carrot, good lump of celery, a load of tomatoes, some garlic. Shove it all in because you can add more seasoning when you do your dish. So I hope that answers anyone's questions about how I do it. So that's that bit.